Hey, what's up? This is Ancient Aliens here. We're back on the affordable techwear hype train, and this time it's coming in the form of a two-piece chicken and chips combo from Dorise Aron. And if you recognize that name, that's because I did a video about them a couple of months ago, and unfortunately it was not exactly my most positive review. But since then they've got back in touch and said, look, we've got some new stuff coming out, it's going to be more functional than what we sent before, and we think that you'll find it more appropriate as well. And I am always on the hunt for decent, affordable techwear stuff, and I think this is gonna take a little bit of a different form to the last affordable techwear video I did, so I was happy to take a look at it on that basis. I have the FC-03 jacket coming in at around $125, and the P-07 pants coming in at around $100. So let's see exactly how they weigh up, and then at the end we can do a little bit of an outfit with both of those things to see what they look like in a techwear context, or scenario, should we say. Let's talk about the jacket first, and I want to mention the sizing first of all, because initially I asked for a size M, which is my regular jacket size these days, and that ended up being very much too small. So definitely go one size up on this stuff, although that is good news for you guys because it means that I've got one size M of these jackets to give away, and I'll talk about that later in the video for how you can get yourself one of those. But anyway, once you size up, I think you'll end up with a pretty good fit. This jacket, I think, fits fairly well on me. The movement is maybe not quite as free as on some of the jackets. I feel like the best way I can describe this is it feels like the underarms need to cut in more. I don't know if that makes sense from a tailoring perspective, but that's just how it seems to me. So that does mean the jacket can rise up a little bit more than normal if you're moving your arms up, but it's not too big of a deal. So speaking aesthetically, which of course is pretty important, I don't feel like this jacket goes too overboard with its techwear style, which can be a trap that a lot of these more affordable things fall into. And although it does seem like it's pretty par for the course in terms of techwear look, techwear style, I also don't think that it's consciously trying to imitate any other brands, which is always a good thing. I think for that reason this jacket is going to appeal to a lot of people that are after that look, because it's clearly quite different to your average mainstream jacket, especially one at this kind of price range, but it's also not super unwearable and being a bit silly with having too many zips everywhere and that sort of thing that you might often find with Taobao stuff or cheaper techwear gear. That said, it does have a couple of decent sized pockets. The most interesting one is on the chest, and it's this fold out Velcro one. So you can pull it out and that reveals a bigger zipped pocket on the underside. So this is the best place to keep all your valuables and anything that you want to keep nice and safe. This is quite a simple solution, but I also think it's effective. It doesn't come across as too gimmicky, and it just does what it's supposed to and it works. And that's punctuated by this little graphic motif which is underneath. Although some people I know are not a fan of anything like this at all, I think it's small and tasteful enough that it's fine. This is no worse than any Gore-Tex branding that you might find on jackets, for example. There's a couple of other bits. There's a little material loop on the chest, which I guess you could attach something to that if you wanted to, but it's basically just for looks. There's a little Velcro section that goes over the zip too, which gives it a nice bit of asymmetric detail. And there are both a zipped lower pockets and a little tiny zipped pocket on the arm, as is common in those more military styled garments. So in terms of carrying capacity and storage, I don't think you're going to have any problems here. All of these pockets are of a decent size, I think. The neck is not as high as some jackets you might associate with techwear, although it still looks okay, especially with the hood detailing on each side as well. I think that, yeah, it makes it look quite nice. But the same can't be said, unfortunately. Once you put this hood up, it's got the cone head executioner kind of thing, which doesn't really look that great. I think it's just one of those things where it's just hard to tailor and design a nicely shaped hood, because it seems to be the case where the more expensive a jacket or the better designed a jacket, the better the hood seems to look too. Of course that doesn't harm its functionality, but it might harm the amount that you want to use it. On the material side, the closest thing I can compare this jacket to is the L House one that I looked at quite a while back, which was similarly priced in fact. So it's a 3-layered nylon ripstop. This doesn't feel that premium, it doesn't feel as nice as other 3-layered fabrics, but then coming in at $125, that isn't too surprising. On the topic of quality and overall feel though, that definitely seems to be improved from the Dorise Aron stuff that I looked at previously. Before there were issues of like very, very basic looking pockets and unfinished stitching and stuff, and that isn't really present here. So from that sense, definitely better. The only exception is the light fleece lining in this jacket, which to its credit does make it more comfortable to wear, but they've used it to form these internal drop pockets. Because that material is quite thin, it doesn't really have any rigidity, I wouldn't really trust those pockets. They don't really look like they could hold anything substantial. But luckily, as I say, there's a few zipped pockets on the outside, so you can still keep things safe, no problem. Although this jacket does have its strengths and weaknesses, overall I am pleasantly surprised by how it turned out. As I say, the quality is better than the previous Dorise Aron stuff. It has a couple of basic features like the 3-layer construction, which will offer some water resistance and breathability, although of course only to a limited extent. And there's a decent capacity with the pockets as well, which are arranged in an interesting way thanks to that little fold out section. But that's only one half of this. Let's move on to the pants. Like the jacket, these come up a little bit small. I'd say these are maybe half a size smaller than what you might expect. So I got these in a large, and normally I'm kind of medium large in pants, but the large ones fit me okay. The overall shape of them is okay, it's quite neutral to be honest. It has a bit of taper, but it's nothing too extreme. Like the jacket, they haven't fallen victim to covering themselves in all kinds of tactical detailing, as some of this cheaper stuff can. Instead, they're relying primarily on these cargo pockets on the leg, which have a similar functionality to the jacket pocket in that they have this Velcro removal option, which is actually kind of similar to the functionality on the ACG deploy shorts and deploy cargos more recently. Although you can't actually stick them in a deployed formation, they nonetheless do fold out in a similar way. I do actually think this works on pants. It's quite a simple solution of getting multiple pockets in one place, and it makes them look different to a military or tactical style cargo as well. And because it's so easy, you just pull it off, I don't think it really comes across as gimmicky either. The material is the same as in the jacket, so there's a little bit of pliability there, but it's not stretchy like dry skin is, and it's not quite as soft as the cotton twill that they use for ACG pants, for example. But that doesn't mean that it's totally unwearable either, and of course you do have to take into account the cheaper price of this stuff. The overall feeling of wearing these is of a midway outdoor focused garment with some level of durability. Although in terms of outdoor and city appropriate credentials, these don't have the same levels of tailoring and articulation that you might find in a more premium pair of cargos. That's particularly noticeable around the knee. There's no real articulation detailing going on there, so it means that these don't quite move in the same way as a more expensive pair would. That's not to say you can't move your legs in these at all or that they're really uncomfortable or anything, but there is definitely a difference between these and I expect pretty much any other pant in this kind of price range from similar brands and from the more premium options from the likes of ACG, Acronym, what have you. This does come with a belt of sorts, although unfortunately this is a little bit weak. You can't really adjust the way that it dangles down, so it seems to sit like in the direct center of your crotch, which is not the greatest look. You can just tuck this up though, of course, so that doesn't matter too much. But also, if you look at it, it doesn't really go all the way around, it's just sewed on at each side. So it's not quite the same as having a proper belt, but fortunately there are belt loops as well, so you don't really have to make use of this. But I kind of feel like this would be better had they just not bothered with that at all and just left the belt loops there and had the elastic, which is actually good, nice to have a bit of elasticity around the waist, and just let people use their own belts. The bottom of the pants is also a weaker area for me, so as I say, most of the material of this is the nylon ripstop, the 3-layered stuff, but then at the bottom there's a little stepped down lycra section which is sewn onto the inside. And the reason behind that, I think, is to create the very harsh tapered look, or the look of having cargos or joggers tucked into socks, that kind of thing, or just wearing something that's 3/4 length with some leggings underneath, because you do see that in Techwear imagery. However, this material is pretty thin and it doesn't really have the elasticity to properly grip your leg as a legging would do, so it just kind of flaps around and sits there, which is not really ideal. It's not to say it looks terrible from a distance, and in fact you almost can't really notice exactly what the change in material is, but up close I feel like you would prefer to just have leggings underneath this, or it would have been even better in fact had they just continued the same material the whole way down, made it a nice aggressive taper, put a zip on the bottom or something in the same way as the ACG cargos for example, and then you just would have had a really nice classic shape. So you could either rock these these as they are, or you can just tuck up that lycra section and then you could wear leggings underneath, which will probably give you a look more similar to what Dorise Aron were really going for when they created this design. Putting these two pieces together alongside an Orbit bag, which I picked out because similarly it's on the more affordable side of the spectrum, and a couple of accessories, you can see that I do think that this creates a pretty cohesive look, and it certainly is a tier up from that hashtag Techwear 1001 zips and pockets and other unnecessary details that really dominates this price bracket, particularly as both these pieces have some level of water resistance and breathability, and an okay level of features too. So I'd say that these two pieces together make it fairly easy to create a cohesive Techwear outfit without spending as much money as those premium brands. I'm not going to say that this jacket and the pants from Dorise Aron serve as a replacement to those things. I wouldn't say, for example, that you shouldn't buy ACG in favor of this stuff, because as I mentioned in this video, there are certainly sacrifices that have to be made stepping down to this more affordable price point. There are clear differences in material quality, in tailoring, and in utility, but for this price range, you could certainly do a lot worse than this stuff. And I do think that Dorise Aron have improved compared to the stuff that I looked at in the previous video. Of the two, I think the jacket is probably the stronger option. The pants at $100 are maybe a little bit of a harder sell because there are all-weather or outdoor pants, maybe that are quite plain, but nonetheless that do exist from more mainstream brands around this price point, and that aren't gonna have things like that belt that I wasn't really a massive fan of, or the lycra section at the bottom. Although for the most part, and particularly with the jacket, they have sidestepped the trap of adding random gimmicks and features and design elements which can't be executed properly due to the cost of the garment and the cost of manufacture. This combo, I think, is pretty honest about what it is and what it does. And those are my thoughts on this little two-piece outfit from Dorise Aron, the FC-03 jacket and the P-07 pants. Let me know what you guys think of them in the comments, particularly with respect to the last affordable stuff that I did, which was the more mainstream branded stuff. I think this is certainly closer to the traditional Techwear aesthetic that a lot of you guys are going to be after. And related to that, the giveaway. You don't have to sell your soul to Zuckerberg for this one, fortunately. All you got to do, if you're subscribed to the channel, and preferably if you follow me on Instagram as well, all you got to do, just leave a comment as you normally would. Tell me what you think about the jacket and the pants. And let me know if you normally wear a size S in jackets as well, because then I can send you something that'll actually fit you. So I'll ship it pretty much anywhere, you don't have to worry about that, and I'll pick out the winner in a couple of weeks or so. I'll send them a private message on YouTube, and then I can get it all shipped out. Anyway, that's quite enough of me, so thank you so much for watching the video, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Shout out to YouTube for not banning my channel and not even demonetizing that video. And shout out to Eric, there certainly is a very big difference between raw denim and Techwear, but I definitely like the idea of having that product and just kind of living in it, really making it yours and really getting that maximum value from it. Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool thing. If you want to see some more, if your Antwon thirst hasn't been satisfied, then you can hit those links up there. And if you want to catch more stuff when it comes out next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after, you can hit the little button on the side, you can be a cool dude, and you can stay hydrated.